Let's talk about what it looks like when the calendar flips to November 1st. For most of us, it's the day after Halloween. We're nursing a candy hangover, scraping melted chocolate off the sofa, and trying to get our kids to finally take off that superhero costume. But for 42 million Americans, this November 1st wasn't about candy. It was the day the pantry went empty. It was the day the government shut down, a political staring contest between adults in expensive suits, finally hit the dinner table. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, what we used to call food stamps, was officially frozen. 42 million people. That's not a rounding error. That's the entire population of California, with a few million extra people from Arizona thrown in. It's families, veterans, disabled citizens, and low-wage workers who, through no fault of their own, were suddenly staring at an EBT card that was just a useless piece of plastic. So, where was the man in charge? Where was President Donald Trump, the man who was, at the time, blaming Democrats for the shutdown? He was at a party. But party doesn't quite capture it, does it? He was at Mar-a-Lago, his glittering, gold-plated palace in Florida. And the theme, in a twist of irony so sharp it could cut you, was The Great Gatsby. You just can't make this stuff up. A little party never killed nobody. On Sunday's Last Week Tonight, John Oliver, our collective voice of comedic outrage, took a flamethrower to the entire grotesque spectacle. He pointed out the screaming, surreal hypocrisy of holding a Gatsby-themed party while simultaneously plunging millions into food insecurity. As Oliver correctly noted, this isn't just insulting, it's a slap in the face to every high school freshman who just finished a 4,000-word essay on that very book. Why? Because The Great Gatsby isn't a how-to guide for throwing a killer bash. It's not, as CNN might casually imply, just a book about rich people partying. It's a grim, heartbreaking tragedy about the disillusionment of the American dream. It's a story about empty, careless, monstrously wealthy people who destroy lives, kill people, literally, in the book, and then just retreat back into their money or their vast carelessness, and let other people clean up the mess they had made. Sound familiar? The theme of Trump's event, Oliver discovered, was even worse. The official tagline for the party was, and I promise I am not making this up, a little party never killed nobody. The audacity is breathtaking. Oliver seized on this with the righteous fury it deserved. And I guess that is true, he said. Although it is also true that, as we are all finding out right now, a grand old party is capable of killing a whole lot of people, and unfortunately, they don't seem to give a single marble and golden case shit about that. That line lands like a punch to the gut because it's not just a clever pun. It's the literal truth. The cruelest game of keep away. This whole situation wasn't just a low-key shutdown, as the original article mildly puts it. This was a 5-alarm fire of human suffering, and the administration was holding the water. Here's the most infuriating part: the money was there. There was a $6 billion contingency fund, billions of dollars set aside specifically for an emergency like this to keep SNAP funded. But in October, the Trump administration's Department of Agriculture, USDA, suddenly announced it couldn't use that money. The reason? Vague legal considerations. It was the bureaucratic equivalent of holding a life preserver while watching someone drown and saying, "Sorry, the instruction manual isn't clear on how to throw this." This decision, this sudden paralysis of conscience, immediately led to what you'd expect: panic. Food banks, already stretched to their breaking point, began bracing for a tidal wave of new, desperate faces. States and cities, seeing the catastrophe on the horizon, had to file a flurry of court challenges. They literally had to sue the federal government to force it to use the emergency money that was already allocated for this exact emergency. Think about that. The government shut down, the safety net was cut, and the administration's first move was to lock the emergency fund in a legal box. An honor without action. Finally, this week, 2 federal judges stepped in and ruled with the force of common sense. The administration has to tap into that $6 billion. So, problem solved? Of course not. On Friday, Trump posted online that it would be his honor to provide the funding, a statement dripping with self-congratulation, as if he were a benevolent king granting a wish, not a public servant being legally compelled to do his job. But here's the kick in the teeth. Even after that tweet, his administration is still stalling. They are now demanding that the courts provide guidance on how to pay out the money. It's a delay tactic so transparent it's insulting. It's the landlord saying, "It's my honor to fix your burst pipe," and then spending 3 weeks demanding guidance from a plumber on how to turn a wrench. Every single day this guidance is debated, 42 million Americans are figuring out how to survive. This process, as the administration calls it, will still delay benefits for weeks, even in the very best case scenario. Weeks. Weeks of panic. Weeks of parents skipping meals so their children can eat. Weeks of elderly citizens choosing between life-saving medication and a loaf of bread. All while the echoes of that Gatsby party are still ringing in the golden halls of Mar-a-Lago. John Oliver was right. This isn't just a bad joke, it's the perfect metaphor. The green light on the dock, the one Gatsby stared at, represented a dream he could never grasp. For 42 million Americans, that light just went out, extinguished by the very people throwing a party in its honor.